We know that films and stories are all technically about the main character, the hero, the protagonist. Ironically, though, some of the best characters ever written are those working against our heroes, the antagonists. But having antagonists that steal the show in your movie is not an easy task. First of all, what is a proper antagonist? Well, that's the easy part, because an antagonist is a force, usually a character, that's actively opposing your protagonist. That's it. If there's anything our heroes, our protagonists want, then the antagonists will try to block it. They're the main thing that our protagonists have to overcome to achieve their goal. So, it doesn't always have to be a person. There are plenty of stories where the role of antagonist is played by nature, technology, society, or even the protagonist's own self. Throughout cinematic history, there are all sorts of different examples of interesting and compelling antagonists. Depending on how they view the role of the antagonist, some actors can play a villain with much more ease than others. Take Jason Isaacs, for example, who portrayed Lucius Malfoy in the Harry Potter franchise.
I think it's fair to say, I think it's honest and not pretentious to say that I've never played anybody evil. I play people who think they're right. You don't need to look too far in the world to see some pretty awful people who think they're right, getting elected or affecting other people badly, but nobody ever thinks they're doing the wrong thing.
According to Sam Claflin, who played a villain in the 2018 historical thriller The Nightingale, it's always fun to play with the darker sides of one's personality. As an actor, of course.
I think for me, I since having kids, strangely, I've definitely enjoyed and seem to be getting more opportunities to play villains and to sort of express the darker sides of my personality. And I think it's having kids and being a dad and not having the opportunity to necessarily be able to express myself, my darker side at home. It's nice to have the outlet, in film and to kind of explore, a different side of myself and challenge myself in new ways.
But antagonists really get interesting when they're visually iconic. Every single hero in The Matrix looks awesome. Dressed in long dark coats, wearing sunglasses, they're all gorgeous to look at. But their central antagonist, Agent Smith, easily matches them. His sharp suit and sunglasses feel understated and distinctive next to the hero's aesthetic. He combines the cold efficiency of a machine with a hatred for humanity that establishes him as more than a tool. He's the perfect example of a cool antagonist. 2024's Twisters is a film with a very interesting antagonist. It's about two teams of storm chasers who are both, chasing storms. One does it for profit and the other for science. And naturally, the two come into conflict with each other.
So there's two rival chasing teams in this movie. We have Stormpaw, who's led by Javi, and we have Tyler's crew, or the Tornado Wranglers, which is run by Tyler Owens. And they have very different styles of chasing. The Stormpaw is more sort of the scientific, the corporate, they're very suited and booted, they've got all the fancy gear. And then Tyler's team are more of the kind of cowboy chasers. They're a lot more kind of rough and ready, and they have their own like homemade gadgets and they're cowboy scientists.
So in the beginning of the film, both lead characters are each other's antagonists. But it doesn't take long before the real antagonist reveals itself in the most impressive way possible. It's the tornadoes, or rather, the invincible force of nature. And that's what makes it interesting.
There's this really interesting relationship with humans and this natural phenomenon. And you can simultaneously be absolutely terrified of something, but also revere it. And I think that's what this movie really explores. And sometimes that's the most exciting thing, is something that you can't really understand, something that can really hurt you, to try to better get as close as possible and better understand it.
A well-crafted antagonist is not just an ordinary adversary, it's a force that propels the narrative forward, creating tension, conflict, and an emotional roller coaster for the audience. So the next time you watch a movie, don't shy away from the shadows, and don't forget to appreciate a proper antagonist.